spawning in the upper left. In the blue, he is representing himself and himself alone, but recently of Razor Edge Gaming. Give it up for Zest. And his opponent in the bottom right. In the red, the GSL Season 2 champion, now for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, he is Rogue. And I am really interested to see in this game, as we get on into Lightshade, just how Zest is going to choose to play this game, because we have seen a lot of talk about just how powerful, just how difficult to deal with this new Stargate into Double Stargate, Quick Third, Immortal Charizard Archon Storm into carrier build is that Trap particularly has been playing with. I've cast a lot of games about that recently because it is just what is in the meta right now, and I am curious, does Zest play to the meta? Does Zest have his own new build that he's looking to make use of that is just going to dominate because it plays counter to the meta? And when a Zerg says, look, 9 times out of 10 I'm dealing with the Stargate build, I gotta cut corners to make sure that I can deal with it appropriately, and then suddenly it's a DT build, it's a charge lot all in, something like that. Maybe we see something like that from Zest, but on the flip side, Zest is one of those players that will not show a ton of creativity in series planning. But on the flip side, he has incredible builds. He's one of the greatest players or at least Protoss players in the world at developing really crisp, really inventive builds. So once he does it, I mean, he does that build for forever and forever and forever until he figures out what he wants to do next. But we're going to have to see whether he has decided that this Stargate opener is one of those builds that he is a really big fan of. Alright, so now we have speed on the way here from Rogue. Is he keeping in gas? No, yeah, he's totally pulled out. So, nothing early. We're not going to see a Ro4 get popped down after the probe leaves. And there we go. Stargate on the way. And this is, of course, Stargate into Warpgate. So it's not the trap build. It's not the trap build that we see sometimes, but that is Warpgate into Stargate. Which, on the one hand, yes. Is it quite as aggressive? No. Do you have that quite as much potential to get damage done? No. But on the flip side, you have your Warpgate done earlier, which means it's easier for you to defend your third base, and the Zerg does not have the free scouting tool of saying, oh wait, it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, Warpgate has not started yet, it's a Stargate opener. Instead, they have to guess. They have to actually get an Overlord or Zerglings on into the natural, into the main base, and see what is what. Now, Zest's not opting for that. He's going for the more traditional Stargate build, which means that the Oracle is done at 3:30. It finds its way into the Zerg base at 4 minutes, and you go from there. And actually, the big question we must ask ourselves this game is, where does Zest go from here? Is this... We're going to see third base? Are we going to see what I call at least the stats build, where you go and you kind of take a third base. It's a little bit later. You don't really probe it up as much, but you get a bunch of glaive adepts, and you do this thing where you're like, look, Zerg, I have gone Stargate. I am absolutely going macro. Be as greedy as possible. Then you hit them with 12 glaive adepts at 6 minutes, and they die because they've just skipped a roach warren, maybe because you don't get roaches against Stargate. But we do have a second Oracle on the way, which means that this will not be, most likely will not be the Oracle, the Void Ray into Charizard Archon Storm build that we've seen so much of, and Zest is doing his own thing. Now, he will find absolutely no drones in the natural, and the Queens are here to defend that now, so Oracle, not going to be all that impactful. Not yet. But maybe there's... Oh! Zest going through a third Oracle. So the way the calculus works here is... Well, you go, and you say, okay, do I buy 2 Oracles? Okay, I would like to get some damage done. Do I buy 3 Oracles? I need to get some damage done. Absolutely. 1 Oracle? Okay, it doesn't really matter what happens, as long as I don't lose the Oracle. So that's where Zest is here. With this third Oracle, he absolutely has to get significant damage done to justify the investment. And 2 workers, honestly, not cutting it. Not yet. Now, we're going to have to see whether he's going to be able to get more here. But, of course, with the Queens, with the Spore Crawler here, it's going to be difficult for the Oracles to fly on in. But look at this. Now we have Adepts flying their way onto the other side of the map. This is exactly what I was talking about. Now, it's not the Adept Glaive version. It's not 12 Adepts. But if you can shade a bunch of Adepts on into the mineral line here, as the Oracles will find the main base, suddenly Rogue, sitting here on only 20 army supply and most of its Zerglings, all of its Zerglings, is going to struggle to find any, is going to struggle to respond. So now we do have the Queens there in the third base here, and there we go. Okay, so workers are starting to get gunned down by the Adepts as they've shaded out effectively. And these Oracles not doing a whole lot either. And once again, we're going to see another stasis. Stasis on stasis on stasis action. Alright, but there we go. Now the Oracles are trying to get something done. 6 workers have died. And interesting that Rogue is committed to 2 spores in the main base. Does he think that this is double Stargate? It's not, but he may think that that's what this is. But again, you don't get triple Oracle with that double Stargate build. I guess there was an SOS build that was years ago. That was a charge lot mass zealot mass Oracle all in. We see it on maps like Whirlwind and Frost. That's how old it is. But that's extremely anachronistic, and you don't see it in modern play. So now, Zest, he's shirking around, going on into Blink behind this. +1 as well. Robo on the way. So, again, he's going to be stuck on Gateway units for the time being. Because he committed so hard to those Oracles, he will struggle to go and get on into a little bit higher tech. But you got to remember, in part, Oracles are incredibly strong defensive units. So, as long as it's not like 30 Hydras or something, Zest should be able to weather any sort of storm coming on in here from the Protoss or from the Zerg player, especially with this wall. Look at how... Okay, so Zest is most likely going Blink Stalker, Sentry, Colossus as his tech path in this game. And, you know, I can't say I hate it. It takes a lot of control. You got to be good. But if you do it, and if you do work well, and if you can paint with force fields, it is just an incredibly powerful... Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? As I say that, 4 gates are on the way, so we're going up to 7 gateways. A War Prism's on the way. Plus, no, this is just getting a big blink, sentry timing. Blink +1 sentry timing, which is not something you see all that often, realistically. But now, yeah, Zest is moving across the map here with this really weird... This is not something you see. I mean, Zest's doing it, so it's something you see, but it's not something you see all that often. I mean, there are a lot of sentries. There's a lot of energy on these sentries. +1 is done as well, and Blink is a powerful force. And this run by, I mean, the Oracles are at home, so they're really not going to be able to get much done either. So now the question is whether Rogue can hold. He's down an army supply, and that is always an issue when you're looking at defending against the Protoss all in. There is no group spines here as well, so these Hydras will not be able to fight over the force fields. And Zest, he's got himself in a really, really good position here in this game. Number 1 here. We're starting to see workers go down by the droves, and more Stalkers are getting warped on in here. These force fields are just incredible, and there are no Banelings. There's nothing that can really do burst damage against all this. And yes, Hydras and Zerglings are good against this amount of Stalkers, but not when you're down, not when you're even on army supply, not like this, not when you're being sectioned off and force fielded off all over the place. These Violins, they're not fighting the army, they're just fighting the force fields. So Zesty's going to keep pushing on in here. He's up on workers, he's up in army supply, he's even on upgrades, sure, but that doesn't really matter. Now the Stalkers, they're going to blink on forward. Oracle's coming to bear as well, and all that means all the Hydras are going to go down, and it's just Roach, Ling, Ravager that is left here. A bunch of Queens as well that will get blinked upon. They will get targeted down, and the army here from Rogue, it's gone. Zest, GG. He takes game number 1. And what a game there from Zest in that first game in the series, playing a really interesting style. This is not something, this is really not something you see all that often. Sure, the Zest build, where you go and you move in with a H12 Adepts, as you move in with Oracles in 6 minutes, yeah, okay, we see that. But going for a Blink Stalker Sentry timing in 2021, it's just so far out of the meta. And so counter to the mass Stargate meta that we've seen, that it worked wonders against Rogue. Rogue was preparing for something that was not in that game. Now, whether that was Rogue not scouting properly, or whether that was Rogue just misreading something, or just whether Rogue thinking that this was the proper response, I don't know. But Zest, he didn't do a ton of damage with the Oracles. I mean, he got, I think, a grand total of 9 workers, and, you know, if your Protoss players complain, haha, drone printer go burr. So with that being said, I mean, drone losses when you're at 50 odd workers aren't really that impactful, but the timing hit fast enough that Rogue was just never able to really get into the worker position that he was looking for, the economic position that he was looking for, and then Zest pushed in with an an equal to ahead army supply. And that's kind of what you're looking at when you're looking at Protoss all in. Are the supplies equal? Okay, the Protoss is probably going to win if it's an all in like this. But now, we got game number 2. Rogue back against the wall, but he is certainly not down, certainly not out. Let's get into game 2. And spawning in the upper left, in the blue, he is representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He's Rogue. And his opponent in the bottom right, in the red, formerly Raise Your Edge, but now teamless, he's Zest. And all I'm saying here, if you're sitting here watching this video, and you like StarCraft and you have the means, pick up Zest, sponsor Zest. I guarantee you'll see some return on investment in terms of the fact that Zest wins a lot of stuff. So, absolutely worthwhile player there. And Zest is going for a low ground gate expand here in this game number 2. Nothing weird. Now, he does have the hatch block once again, but Rogue says, okay, you know what, fine. I figured out how to deal with this 6 months ago. Because, of course, what the Zerg does there is they just say, okay, 110 minerals, I send my drone out. If I see a probe, I just take my third as my natural. Otherwise, I just take it anyways. So we are on Romanticide here for this map number 2, as one can tell, because it says Romanticide on the map itself. But the point being here is Romanticide is kind of the map where this Stargate style that has been just so in vogue really is most powerful, where it started, where I think we first started seeing it before it kind of spread to other maps. Because, I mean, your 3 bases are free. They're freer than free. It is so difficult for the Zerg to really push on into it. And that means that you can get away with the significant amounts of greed that are baked into that build. That being said, Trap in particular has really figured out how exactly to make that build, while greedy, almost impossible to attack. With the different forks where you can go, you can get +1 air attack instead of getting quite as quick of a third base. You can go and you take the third base if your Zerg is being a little bit greedier and you don't suspect an attack, and then you're up to worker parity with the Zerg. You're taking the base around the similar timing, and that's also not a good spot for the Zerg player to be. Now, of course, there are ways to beat this. I'm not saying that build's unbeatable, but it is very strong. And on this map in particular, where, again, your third base is functionally free, it's so difficult to get up this ramp here. Well, we see it a lot. And we do have a Stargate opener coming from Zest, but once again, it is Stargate to Warp Gate, not Warp Gate to Stargate, so most likely not going to be the trap build, not going to be the double Stargate build. And this actually excites me because, A, Rogue knows that this is a Stargate build. Rogue knows this. But the question now is, does Zest do something like he did last game? Are we going to see like a Blink Star, some sort of gateway all-in off of 3 bases? Or are we going to see Zest do something else? Is he going to go into Immortals? Is he going to go into Colossus, into Disruptors? Is he going to do something a little bit more, I don't know what you want to call it, a little bit more standard? Sure, we'll call it standard. And this Overload will fly into the main base once again. Should see, well, yeah, it's going to see the Void Ray. Okay, so it will be Void Ray first this time into an Oracle, so probably not the triple Oracle build we saw from Zest in the last game. And there we go. Is he going to take a 3-4? Okay, Zest. Now, yeah, it's going to be 350. He doesn't have the money for it. But yeah, getting ready to take the third at 350. So this is looking more, this is looking like closer to the trap build. That being said, again, this was, we've seen Oracles here, the trap build. I guess the trap build does get that sometimes. What we're looking out for here, though, do we see a second Stargate? There it is. Okay. It's a Romanticide game. We got Void Rays. We got Oracles. We're going to see double Stargate Void Ray into Immortal, into Charizard Archon Storm, into a Fleet Bacon, into multiple carriers, into the Golden Armada. Assuming Rogue doesn't try to kill Zest, or Zest doesn't try to kill Rogue earlier. Alright, so 4 minutes and 20 seconds on the lair. Merchwarn on the way as well, at a good timing. What we're looking for here is Rogue is not doing the German taxi, unless he gets Overlord speed now, and he's not. He may still decide to waddle his queens across the map. The Soul Stroll, as I've heard it called. We're at 5 queens now, going up to a grand total of 6. I think you want to go up to closer to 8 if you do choose to go for the Soul Stroll, which you make up for, what may be a slower attack is made up for by having more queens. And now we do have Void Rays on the way here, Forge on the way, Twilight Council on the way. We're going to see Charge, we're going to see +1, and we're going to see a Templar Archives after that, so we can get Archons and Storm toot sweet ASAP. And I do like this from Zest. I mean, he hasn't gotten a ton of, he's got one worker kill, but that's not the end of the day, or that's not the end of the world. The big deal is he's kept this Oracle alive. It means he's going to be able to see when and if the push from Rogue happens. And okay, Rogue, he's going to go for something a little bit different. Now, he does not have a third base yet, which does imply that he does want to get a little bit aggressive here at 6 minutes into this game. But there's a Hydra Den on the way, so he's going to go for maybe something. Okay, never mind. There's the 4th base on the way. Cast a Curse. Anyway, he's going for a Hydra Den here. +1 is on the way, so he's going to look to maybe do a little bit more of a mid-game timing across the map here, and that does make sense. Try to smash the 4th base instead of the 3rd, because realistically, you're not getting into the 3rd base. All right. Now the Void Rays, they will shark around here behind the mineral line, and there's only one spore up at the moment, so the spore should just go down. It looks like Zest prefers getting the gas. That makes a lot of sense. Spore's going to go down as well. Queens, they will be able to fight away for the moment. Second spore is going to die. Okay, yeah, these Void Rays are getting a decent amount of damage here. Keeping their pulsar beams on, getting a couple Overlords as well. So 2 Overlords, 2 spores, and a gas. Zest is going to take that. So there we have Charge on the way, +1 on the way, more and more Void Rays. So it looks like Zest is going past the 6 Void Ray mark that you sometimes see. Now he's going to go up to 9. That's pretty nice. 6 gates on the way as well. But a 4th base here for Rogue. It exists. Hydras are on the way. And, well, how many queens do we have? 7 queens on the map. Hydras going Groove Spines first, which implies that they're not going to get too aggressive with this. But as I say that, they're walking across the map. No, okay, they're sitting defensive. Ideally, you don't get aggressive with Hydras until you have Hydra speed. But hey, Infestation Mid Baneling Nest on the way. So yeah, Rogue, he's just taking the game late, and that is always scary when we see this composition that Zest is building. It is a difficult thing for the Zerg player to deal with, but with these 3 queens of Orient Far, they will be able to defend the 4th base, but the gas is going to go down once again as the spores were a little bit delayed in being remade, and we do not have +1 air on the way. So when you have +1 air, Void Rays can actually fight Hydras to some extent. They can actually fight queens to some extent, but well, when it's +0, not as much of a thing as these Void Rays. They're kind of stuck back here. But they have forced the Hydras to play defensive to make sure the Hydra Den is not targeted down. And it looks like we had some Void Ray. The Void Rays over here were recalled, but the Void Rays trapped or not. That's interesting decision, Zest. Not sure what you're doing there, but you know what? I do. I like that. So what Zest's doing here, he's just saying, okay, look, I'm going to sit here behind your mineral line. I am forcing a significant amount of your Hydras to sit here and not attack, to not do anything but make sure that that you don't lose the Hydra Den. But now Zest, he has a 4th base. He has Storm done. Archons are on the way. Lots of charge lots. And this is, I mean, Zest will go into carriers behind this if the game goes late. But this is Zest's timing. This is where he's going to actually look to go and just do something really start leaning on into things. He has charge. He has Archons. He has Storm. He has feedbacks if he needs it to. And there we go. 8 Zealots are getting warped on in here. A bunch of Banelings on the way, but those Banelings will not be ready in time. Queens are going down as well. The Storm on top of all the Baneling units, which means they just go down here. And I feel like Rogue has been kind of caught looking here. We do have the Zealot run by on the right-hand side on top of the Baneling Nest. No Hydras in the main base, so the Void Rays can absolutely do something there. And the Archons, they're getting on top of these Hydras. The Hydras don't have, well, actually, no, they do have speed now, but the 4th base is going to go down. The economy of Rogue here is getting massacred, and yes, some of the tech from Zest is going down, but that's just going to be it. GG, Zest! He takes game 2. He takes the series 2-0.